from the title, the Rona has got your girl. Well, it don't have me no more. Okay, I am fully recovered, ending my 14-day quarantine. So I know a lot of people that are close to me are like slowly finding out that I got COVID, and the first reaction I'm getting is like, "Why you didn't say nothing?" And I was in a place where, number one, when it started, or when my symptoms started, I wasn't 100% sure that I had it, and then by the time I found out I really had it, I just didn't want to alarm people. I feel like that's been, everybody is so concerned because people have died that like the moment you say that you have it, everybody is like in panic mode, and I just didn't want anybody to be overly concerned when I didn't think that, like, it's serious, obviously, but I didn't think that it was like to the point where people needed to know, because I just kind of stayed and did my time in silence. But I know a lot of people are curious because, they don't really know anybody personally who's had it, or they've heard of, somebody getting it, or a friend of a friend, or a family member, or whatever. So I wanted to use this space to not only kind of just talk about my experience with it, but also to touch on some of the things that have been going on in my life. I've had a really, 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 really hard month, and in my recovery, I have just come to some realizations, and I felt like it was a good time for me to be vulnerable with the people who watch my videos, to share some of the things that I've taken from having such a hard month, and yeah, just spread some knowledge, some insight. So let's just start with COVID. So what happened was, I woke up one day, and I had pressure behind my eyes. Now, this is something that I haven't really experienced before. It wasn't like sinus headachy, but it was literal, like, just strong, painful pressure behind my eyes. And that wasn't a symptom that I had heard about or that I had read about people talking, about. So I didn't think anything of it at first. It was present in the morning, and then it kind of went away. Um, but yeah, I was like, maybe it's allergy related. Like, I told my mom, and she's like, maybe you slept wrong. And so I'm just like, Mom, like, how do you sleep? I don't sleep on my head. So I didn't, I didn't pay too much attention to it. And then the next day, so it started on a Tuesday. So the Wednesday, I woke up again, had pressure behind my eyes. This time it felt worse than it did the day before. And something else I noticed, so I normally sweat in my sleep. That's not abnormal for me. But what I was noticing that Tuesday night and Wednesday night is when I was sleeping, I was sweating like beyond anything I've ever sweated before. Like, my body was just super uncomfortable. But again, this isn't something that's super abnormal to me. Like, I sometimes sweat in my sleep, sometimes I get hot, cold. So I wasn't paying too much attention to it. So Wednesday, the pressure lasted all day. I ended up taking an Allegra D to see if like some allergy medicine would relieve the pressure behind my eyes. But it was so tough. Like, I was having a session with a client, I felt like I could barely keep my eyes open. So Thursday, I woke up, no pressure behind the eyes, but I just felt uncomfortable. I was hot. Wednesday night is really when my chills and my sweat started. So Wednesday night, I was like watching TV, and I just couldn't get comfortable. Like, I was hot, then I was cold, and I was hot, then I was cold. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like, what is it? So when I woke up Thursday, and I still felt like just really clammy, really uncomfortable, I took my temperature. Now, I took my temperature Wednesday, and I didn't have a fever. Thursday, I had a fever. So I instantly started to like kind of panic. I'm like, Mom, I think I have COVID. Like, I have a fever. And my fever wasn't super high. It was like I think it was like 99 point something. Because I was like, Mom, is that even a fever? And she was like, well, yeah, it's a low grade fever. So I decided to go ahead and get tested again, like Thursday. Super uncomfortable, like chills, just the sweats. My appetite was getting funny, like I wasn't really hungry. And so Thursday, I just kind of felt fatigued. So that was the day I mainly like just slept, and tried to just get a hold of like these chills and these sweats. So Friday, same thing. I didn't sleep much, but I was just generally uncomfortable. Thursday is when I started taking the Tylenol to try to curb my fever. So I was taking Tylenol. My appetite was gone, and again, like the chills, just hot, cold. And then I wasn't eating like that, so I started to have like weird stomach stuff going on. Like at first, I kind of felt nauseous, and then it was like if you've ever had like hunger pains, like just from not eating, it was those, but like intensified. So I ended up like just making myself try to eat. I know there were a bunch of like home remedies and things that people were doing. And I just was like, I'm gonna just take this Tylenol and drink my fluids and just try to like get through this. So luckily, when I started taking the Tylenol, my chills were more. They kind of went away, and that was really the most uncomfortable part for me. So I was really happy about that. I think the fever had something to do with it. So once I was able to kind of get a hold of my fever, I was okay. I know a lot of my friends were like, I would have bought you food. And like, my mom was on top of it. Okay. Bless her heart. Love her to death. She definitely came by with, everything that I kind of needed to just stay put and try to let my body fight off this virus. So it wasn't until I think it was Sunday. It was no, it was Saturday. Is I was on Twitter and I saw this girl say that she had tested positive for COVID and she wanted to share her early symptoms. So I look at the thread, and the thread is damn near to a T exactly what I was dealing with, from the eye pressure to the stomach pains. Like, so at that point, I was pretty confident that I had COVID because let's just say CVS is behind. I don't have the greatest insurance since losing my job. So what I do have, I was able to go to freaking CVS, got tested on Thursday. 7 days later, I still don't have my results officially back. And they said it was supposed to be 2 to 4 business days. So I was anticipating at least knowing for sure by Tuesday. By Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. Nothing. And I called and found out that their results are being delayed because of, I guess, the influx of people getting tested, whatever. So once I saw her thread, I was just pretty confident, like, okay, this can't be, because the combination of symptoms is just so weird, where I was like, this can't be nothing but COVID. So, let's just call a spade, because my mom was all like, we're not claiming that, ma'am. It's COVID. Like, and so the first question people ask me is like, well, where do you think you got it? Like, when do you think you contracted it? And I honestly could not say for sure because I have been out. Now, granted, most of the time I have my mask on, but as far as like being around people, I've been to one restaurant, one patio, and I've been to one very, very small gathering. So the week before I got sick, I got together with some of a friend and some of her friends, and it was probably about 5 of us. So I could have picked it up from there. The thing is, I haven't been around anybody who says that they were sick or has been symptomatic. So whoever I was around was asymptomatic, for me to get it like this. And again, I know that as things kind of start opening up, and we've been doing this for a while, I've gotten lax. So this is me telling y'all, do not get lax with your disinfectant. When I usually when everything first started, I would come in the house. Whenever I would come in the house, I would spray down my phone, my keys, my wallet. And then I would, of course, wash my hands. And so I was doing that for a while, and then I kind of stopped. Same thing with like my car. I was doing a good job of just making sure I was wiping everything down. Stopped doing that as much. And so here we are. So, um, I do consider myself lucky because I feel like my symptoms weren't as bad as some other people's. Like I never got a cough, I never had like shortness of breath, I never lost my taste and smell, and I was like worried because the girl whose thread I read, those symptoms had developed for her later, and it never happened to me. Like I said, my symptoms start showing up on a Tuesday. By Sunday night, my appetite was back. I was going to Portillo's, and I felt fine. So my week started off on a really good note because I was feeling more like myself. The hardest part, which is bad to say about getting it, was the fact that like I had to postpone stuff. I was supposed to be getting my nails done, and I just I didn't want to be one of those people. So I went ahead and canceled my appointments, and I was like, I'm going to try to stay put for at least a week. Or at least until my thing was I wanted to no longer be having symptoms before I was out, kind of like even remotely being around people. I have an N95 mask, so anytime like I had to run to the bank or to the store because rent was due, I made sure that I put on gloves just because I didn't want if I'm still germy for whatever reason, I didn't want to be spreading it around to other people. So yeah, I just want people to know it's still out here. It's real. Um, if you get it, it may not be as smooth as my thing went. Like I said, I feel really blessed that I kind of had like 4 or 5 tough days, and then I was okay. So I promise everybody I'm fine. Um, so outside of getting COVID was like the cherry on top of the ice cream. Let's recap my month. So and it's not just it started the end of May, so end of May through the end of June. My dog died. For anybody that doesn't know, I had a English bulldog named Bailey. She is our heart and our everything, and we had her for 11 years, and we unexpectedly lost her at the end of May. Apparently, English bulldogs and the bulldog family in general, they have uh, long palates in their mouth. They have to get surgically cut down because it's not normal and it interferes with their breathing. And so my mom said that the night before she passed, she was acting funny, just acting like she couldn't get comfortable and then acting like she had something caught in her throat. Like you know how it be when dogs like be trying to throw up. So she kind of was concerned, but I thought I'm gonna just keep an eye on her. So the next morning, my mom said that she was kind of breathing funny. Her tongue wasn't as pink as it should be, so they decided to take her to the vet. So they took her to the vet, and um, when they got her in there, they had her like for dogs to get oxygen, they have like a tank that they put them in. And so my mom had called me, and she was saying they got her an oxygen tank. She seems to be doing okay. So about 10 minutes later, she called and was crying, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to put down Bailey." And I'm like, why? Like, what happened? So apparently she got what is called like aspirated pneumonia, um, which can happen, I guess, with their breed because of the palate. And so what happens is like their lungs fill up with fluid, and um, while they're trying to breathe, the lungs just keep filling up because of how um, exacerbated they are. So, because Bailey was already 11, they said the only option would have been to incubate her, and that would have been $4,000. And because she was an older dog, there was no guarantee that she would be okay after being incubated. So my parents had to make the difficult decision to put her down. Matter of fact, but while I finish this segment about Bailey, I'm gonna get my beautiful. Um, for anybody that's interested in ever wanting something like this, just comment and I'll give you the website. My sweet girl. But so pretty much they were going to have to make the decision to put her down because when my dad FaceTimed me, she she was foaming at the mouth. Like it just got so bad so quickly, and that's the thing I guess about this aspirated pneumonia is it kind of just happens. It's not much you could do to prevent it. Like again, if she was a younger dog, they probably would have been able to do something. But the fact that she was older really just changed things, and so that was really difficult for my family. I found Bailey 11 years ago in a pet store. I was with my boyfriend at the time and his family, and my mom had been talking about wanting a bulldog because we had two other dogs that died when I was about 14, and that was really tough. But it was two of them, so I think we dealt with their deaths a little easier just because, like, when the first one died, we still had that second one to kind of cling on to. And we knew that they were both old. They were both around the same age, so it was hard. But I think like Bailey really filled that hole that we had in our hearts. It was about 2 years after they died that we got Bailey, and she just brought a whole new like joy and happiness to my family. And so losing her really like literally felt like losing a sibling. And for people who don't have animals, they don't really understand how traumatic and strong that grief is, and we're still dealing with it. Like the stuff we ordered in the mail to remember her by, my mom was calling me crying every time something came, and we got this we didn't get her cremated because my mom is weird about stuff like that. She wishes she had, so we could have spread her ashes in the yard. But we got a footprint of her made before they did whatever they do with the doggy bodies. So we have like these just little things to kind of hold on to. I'm kind of lucky that I don't live at home anymore because that was like the hardest part when we lost our first two dogs, was just being in the house and just seeing places where they used to lay and all of that stuff. And so I think my mom really has it hard, and that's what is hard for me because like that was her road dog. Like they sleep together, not like in the same bed because we black won't do that. But like she sleep on the couch, Bailey right there. They snore together. Like that was her literal home girl. Being, an empty nester for the most part. My brother be in and out. My daddy be doing his own thing. So it was just, that Bailey was my mom's best friend. She was all of our best friends. So seeing her in that condition, like, just tore me up. So anybody that, feels like people invalidate the grief that they experience over their animals, I'm here to tell you that shit is hard. It's hard. It is so hard. Like, just looking at her face, like, still, it still brings up a lot of really heavy emotions for me. Just knowing, even just going to my parents' house now, it makes me sad because I know she's not there. Like, when I got COVID, my mom was like, you can come stay in the basement so you ain't got to be alone. And it's just still too hard to be there and not have her there. Even the day after, the day it happened, I went to my parents' house later that night, and I just wanted to. We had just got her like a new bed. My mom used to always find these big ass thrones for Bailey to lay on, and I just laid on it and smelled it. And even though dogs smell not the best, knowing it was like her scent, like it was just so comforting. Like my mom says before she go to bed at night, she smells her collar. And again, it's a stanky ass dog smell, but it's their smell. So just little things like that have been helpful. My mom still is in a place where I guess people deal with grief differently. Bailey's stuff is like still where she left it. And so, I guess when my mom feels ready, she'll put it up. I know some stuff she's getting a box, like a memory box to put in, but, yeah. So that was the start of a very tough 30 days. And then I had some family stuff happen, which I can't really disclose or talk about in detail. But my people know how strongly I feel about my immediate family and my parents. And um, all I can say is something happened that really just kind of changed a part of my life. Um, and having to process that. Number one, process it because it's not something I can talk to everybody about. It's not something I can talk to most people about. It's actually something I can only talk to a very select few people about. So carrying that with me and um, having to process it has been very difficult. So that was the second thing. The third thing, I took my licensing exam. I did not pass. And although I can still get clients, I can still see clients. It was really more of an ego thing for me. I was super looking forward to just being able to knock another goal off my list to be able to celebrate. There are two sections of the exam. You have to pass both sections. One of the sections, I was 3 points off. Um, that's another hard thing about having, and not only having anxiety, but having an anxiety disorder like I have. I don't do well with being caught off guard, and I get very overwhelmed, and then I start to panic, and that's kind of what happened with the test. It's not that I didn't know, like I knew how to take the test, but some of the formatting was different, and it threw me off. So I didn't get comfortable till I was like towards the end, and by the end, I'd already probably overpicked. That's the weird thing about this test. When you pick right, you gain points. When you pick wrong, you lose points. So a lot of taking my licensing exam was learning about the strategy of the exam, not to pick too many, not to pick too, how do you say it? Not to not pick enough, um, because you can end up losing too many points. So that's pretty much what happened. The sucky part is you have to wait 3 months to retake it. So I'll be taking it again in September, and that time I will pass. So I'm claiming that now. But yeah, it was kind of tough pill to swallow. Like I spent all this time and money to study and get prepared for this test, and then to not pass was kind of like shitty. I felt shitty about it. Um, and then the next thing that happened kind of in conjunction with COVID, um, which I'll discuss briefly, is the person who I had been, you can call dating. Um, Things just started to go south. Uh, Something that I don't talk about with a lot of people is kind of how I process um, getting through like heartbreak. And I think I'm at a place now where I've been single for 5 years, and this um, dating situation was the closest I felt like I have gotten to getting into an actual relationship again. And a part of what was so difficult for me this time around with accepting things going south is the fact that things really kind of started to set in when I got COVID. So I couldn't be around my tribe. I couldn't be around my support system. I couldn't go out and have a good time and distract myself from my feelings and my thoughts and being in my head. I had to sit with all of it by myself. Um, I've had some of my friends who are awesome and amazing human beings really hold me up, and that's one thing I will say to take from what I'm discussing is make sure you have a circle. Make sure you got people you can really lean on, because if it was not for my mom, I'll give shout outs Paris, Brittany. I was in such a low place while receiving and accepting what was happening. Um, they really were my rocks. They sent me encouraging messages. They affirmed me until I can get. Because that's the thing about therapy, right? I've been in therapy for 5 years, as long as I've been single. Um, the shit always want to hit the fan when I ain't got a session coming up. Well, my sessions are usually 2 to 3 weeks apart. I feel like it was a 3-week stretch this last time. So, I think I will say it helps you become more resilient. You know, I've had clients reach out to me and want like emergency sessions, and I can't get them in. By the time I talk to them, they've processed it, they've done the work on their own. So I know that for me, it's helpful when I can push through and trudge through something on my own, and then reflect back on what I've been through with my therapist. That's usually how things go. But yeah, I think for me, I want some emotions I don't like really sitting with is embarrassment and disappointment. And my anxiety makes, like, I want people to understand, people with mental health issues, sometimes like we feel negative emotions like 10 times harder than other people. So I think for me, sometimes I get embarrassed when things go wrong, especially in my love life, because the first response from other people is usually like, girl, you'll be okay, fuck him, keep going, like, you a queen, all this other stuff, and you won't need, and I appreciate it, and it makes me feel bad sometimes that I can't bounce back, I can't not give a fuck like everybody else. And I feel like other people feel that way, and that's why I'm sharing this. And I'm letting people know that it's okay, and you are not alone in not being able to, I think we call it going through breakups with people you was never in relationships with. Like, I think for me, I've reached a point where I'm so tired, y'all. I'm tired of being in this place, what feels like 3 to 6 to 9 months apart, where it's not, I'm not going to say I'm giving up on love or I'm giving up on marriage. I'm sitting with the fact that, which I've talked about on my channel before, I'm sitting with the fact that it is a reality for me that I may not have those things. And it's okay, but it's a reality. Like I said, when you grow up having parents who are married, who you believe are happily married, you always just think that's going to happen for you. And I hit a point a few years ago when I was meeting really great, awesome black women who were not married, who were not in long-standing relationships. And knowing that could be a possibility for me, and that I needed to make sure that I had other things in my life that I found fulfilling, because I couldn't depend on kids or a husband fulfilling me. And I don't think any woman should. But that's what we're taught, that these are the things that are supposed to fulfill us. So I've reached a point where I think it's easier and it's better for my mental health to lead with the narrative or the idea that it might not happen for me. Because my thing is, when I meet somebody, my guards are really up. And like I said, this person was probably the most solid situation dating wise that I've had in a very long time. So I was super optimistic. And I got to a place where I let those guards down and I allowed myself to be vulnerable. And once that's down and somebody now has the power to hurt me, or this has the opportunity to not work in the way that I had hoped, then I have to sit with, I got to sit with that. And when I have to sit with that, I can be in a very low place. And I think it's interesting because when I go through stuff, people are like, you a therapist. My own mom is like, you know the skills to get through this. You know how to get through this. And I think the reason why I relate to my clients so much is the fact that I know that you can have the answers and still not be in a position to apply them. I know that I know I'm not supposed to engage in negative self-talk, and sometimes I do it anyway, even though I know it's wrong. But sometimes you just have to let yourself sit in that. And that's one thing that's different about me now than in my past is I let myself sit in it for a second, for a day, and then I have to kick it in gear. Then I have to think about how are we going to recover from this. Then I have to talk to God and ask for strength and ask for guidance and ask for peace and healing, because that's the only way I'm going to move forward. And so, through the first few days where I had COVID is also the first few days where I had to kind of accept this reality that this situation that I wanted with this person was probably not going to happen, and it, at least not happen in the way that I had hoped. Was really just dealing with it on my own, and not being able to use, like I said, like distractions and go out with my girls and do all the things that you want to do when you're hurting, and having to lean on my people, because I think for me, because people expect for me to have all the answers, it's hard for me to admit to other people what's going on. Like my mom, she called and was like, she knows I'm sick, and I'm tearing up on the phone with her, and she thinks it's because I'm scared that I have COVID, which a part of it is, but another part of it is the fact that my heart is broken and I'm having to sit with this. So I have to tell her, because at this point in our relationship, I tell her everything. But I have to admit that to her and try to explain it, because that's the thing, is sometimes you can't really explain other people's feelings, because usually you don't understand what led them to feel that way. So I had to be able, in order to be able to get the support that I needed, I had to be able to lean into her. I had to be able to be honest and transparent about what I was experiencing. And so I say all of this to let people know who take these types of situations when it comes to dating hard, that you are not alone, that you learn to bounce back faster. That's one thing I will commend myself on. Before, these little things, used to take me out for a week, throw me into a little depression. Now I get a couple days of feeling low, and I gradually get back to myself, and that I think is a testament to my resilience that I've built over the years from having to deal with men. One thing I also want to share is, so I think I appreciate the fact that I think God speaks to me through my social media sometimes. Like, I've seen a lot of things, tweets and posts that are just right on the money. And one of them I really want to share. So it says, this girl, she tweeted a thread. It said, I notice when I tell people about dating issues, they immediately say, but you're so amazing, your person is coming, or you're so beautiful, it's gonna happen. And I just have to ask, since when has women being amazing or beautiful guaranteed us a safe, fulfilling dating life? History shows that beautiful, amazing, hardworking women still get the short hand of the stick in dating. So I must rather shift the conversation from you're so great, it's gonna happen, to if it does or doesn't happen, how are you taking care of yourself in the meantime? Because the truth of the matter is, it may not actually happen for me. I may never be married. I may not ever experience long-term love, or I may not have it in a traditional sense. And that reality isn't a failure. It's a reality. It doesn't matter how amazing I am. All the women I've known who I've heard have been mistreated in relationships have been amazing women. Being an amazing woman does not bring adequate partnership our way. It never has. And so people may hear that and they may think like, oh, that's so pessimistic. Like, I saw a girl reply to her like, people like this are never going to find love. And I think that it's a smart mindset to have. It allows for you to just experience companionship for what it is sometimes, and dating for what it is, versus like going into it feeling like, oh, this gonna be my person, or this gonna be the, the person I end up marrying, or this is it, and claiming things like that just because life is crazy and you never know what sides of people you haven't even been exposed to yet. So, um, sometimes I feel what's called, to diagnose, is called borderline, where, interpersonal relationships are really hard for people who have borderline. And I think sometimes when it comes to like my dating life, um, the types of feelings and thoughts that I end up having after I like knock down my walls. Cause that's the thing, is like, before, when them walls be up, dudes be like, I can't read you, and I just be out here real player and real chill, you know what I mean? And once I feel like I'm in it, and now I like you, and now like I look to you and look for you, I it's so hard to get me there, because I know how hurt I can be once I'm there. Well, if I'm not there, it ain't nothing you could do. I'm good. Okay, whatever. But once I'm there, it's hard, and it like I said, I think for me, what shows up is a lot of um just embarrassment behind like, another one bites the dust, because I do honestly feel, I think I'm in a place where I'm trying to fight off bitterness and resentment. I get a lot of dudes who, it may not work out, and they just like, but we want, I still want to be cool and all this other stuff, and I'd be like, fuck you, cause I be hurt. But I don't want to let my experiences make me hard or bitter or cold. And that's what I feel like I'm in these last little few, situations I've had that didn't work out. That's where I end up like really feeling, and I have to do a lot of inner work to like get to a place where I don't feel that anymore. That's a part of my process in a couple days, the couple tough days that I had. And so I just want people to know that it is okay to go through that. It's okay to not know the answers, and I really want people to know that most of the time, it ain't you. And that's one thing, like, my therapist will sit and tell me. I had a great therapy session the other day, and I was able to catch her up, and she was like, Brittany, it's nothing wrong with you. The men that I seem to bring into my life, or that I seem to kind of fall for, whatever, like, sometimes there's usually a shift that involves other things, and I just get the short end of the stick because of those other things that are affecting them. But it's easy to put it all on you. It's easy to, and that's not to say that you don't look inward and you don't see what you want to do differently or what you want to do better. But I think that a lot of times, like, we end up personalizing it, and it ain't always personal. And one thing I have to stop myself from doing is picking, because I will sit and try to comb through the conversations, the details, and I will overthink and I will ruminate. Well, what did they mean when they said this? And most times it don't even matter. It don't matter, because at the end of the day, that's just not your person. So you just drive yourself crazy by trying to sit and pinpoint where things went wrong. Because for me, I feel like I'm at a place, that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm at a place where I don't necessarily trust men to remain consistent. I feel like people like the idea of me. They like the idea of even dating me. But they forget that I'm a real person with flaws. And just because I'm a therapist don't mean that I have all my shit together or that I know all the answers. I'm doing my life thing just like everybody else. But yeah, I just don't. I think that sometimes things start off so great, and then I slowly have to start asking for stuff that I was getting. Like, I don't. That's something I never understand with men, is like, they'll start off doing everything amazingly, and then they kind of just trail off and think they don't have to do those things anymore. Or I don't know if, like, again, their feelings change, and then they don't tell you, and then all of a sudden you begging them to do the stuff that you didn't have to ask for 2 months ago. You know, so um, yeah, I've never been the type to say I don't trust men in a traditional sense, like I think somebody's gonna cheat on me or they're gonna play me. I don't trust them to keep up what they start. So I had struggled to even just be having fun in that first cup. You know, when it's first fresh and everybody all just feeling each other and it's just so great. I struggled to even let myself be present in those moments and to just feel it and to just have fun because I'm thinking about the day that's gonna come where he don't do that shit no more. And I experienced projected sadness just based on the fact that, like, you're doing great now, but I really don't think it's gonna last. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm still figuring this shit out with y'all. But I think that that's what just makes me a better therapist sometimes is the fact that, like, I've had people talk to me about their breakups and their relationships, and all I try to do is be the person that I need to know. If it was me, what I would need in that moment, and be that for other people, even when I don't even follow my own advice all the time. It's great advice. It's great feedback. Great suggestions. But again, sometimes just doing the work is just hard. So I've talked about my life a little longer than I wanted to, but I had some stuff to let y'all in on. And again, I want everybody to just keep doing their best because that's all I'm doing. That's all. I'm just trying to put my best foot forward. I'm trying to hold on to the little piece that I done created in my life and just being on my P's and Q's about letting people in my life who aren't committed to helping me keep that. Because I think that's the thing is, like, once you get past the honeymoon period when you're dating somebody, that's when the real work starts. And everybody not committed and ready to do the real work. That's kind of what I ran into this time around. It's not that the person didn't want what I wanted. Like, I finally got somebody who wasn't on the I ain't looking for a relationship train. That's what sold me. But everybody isn't ready to accept somebody and all their flaws. Everybody isn't ready to do the work to come to compromises, to come to solutions. It's sometimes and usually just easier to not deal with the person no more. But we don't get to real love like that. We don't get to long lasting marriages like that, you know. So just keep finding and dating people who like you, who are committed to doing what it takes to learn you, to learn how to love you, to learn how to understand you and be patient with you. You deserve it. That's what I've been telling myself, okay? Yeah, and wash your hands and disinfect your phones. Keep your hands out your face. And yeah, I think that's all I got. So, hope everybody stays COVID free and thanks for watching.